Go Mouse Scouts episode 143. You're listening to Go Mouse Scouts, where we're dedicated to helping you and your kids have a great time at the Disney parks, whether you're just starting out or a seasoned pro. My name is Chris.
And I'm Megan.
And this episode, we have Randy Crane from the Stories of the Magic podcast with us. And he is going to... we're going to talk with him about his approach to visiting the park with his daughter and his wife, because they go all the time, and he shares some really great tips and some of his favorite things to do with his family at the parks. And it's kind of funny because it started out with me and Megan on the line with Randy for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, that didn't last.
What happened?
Well, Roddy happened.
Yes.
Wow, he just was not up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so,
or rather, he was up for it, and that was the problem.
Yeah, he was up, and so she had to go in and tend to him. And I continued. Actually, I think that happened before I officially started chatting with him. So,
see, I don't even remember. Roddy doesn't sleep anymore. He
Yeah.
was the perfect sleeper until he hit 4 months, and now he doesn't sleep anymore at night.
Mm-hmm.
And so, this is why we haven't been putting out, our show lately, is that in the evenings, I'm sleeping on the couch because I'm so tired. And anytime that we do manage to muster up the energy to try and record, Roddy starts screaming.
Exactly. So we're actually kind of on borrowed time right now as we speak, because just me breaking out my microphone will cause him to stir and wake. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So that explains why Megan isn't in this episode mostly. Well, I haven't cut the interview or anything yet. But, I continued on with the conversation with Randy in hopes that she would come back out and join the conversation.
And that was a no.
Yes.
According to Roddy.
According to Roddy. I finished up chatting with Randy, and then I went into our room, and Roddy was asleep.
And so was I.
So was Megan. So, yep.
Like I said, he hasn't been sleeping at night. I'm tired.
He's probably been our child who has slept the least, hasn't he? Would you say that? Or
no, Jenny was a terrible sleeper when she was a baby.
Well, there you go.
Forget it. If you made one tiny little noise, there's no way we would have been able to podcast with her.
Nope.
So now she's our good sleeper, which I should hope she would be since she's 8 now.
That's true. Yep. Well, anyway, I think we've chatted enough here, but it really is great to get behind the microphone and chat with you guys and chat with each other. And I'm glad that we have Randy on this episode. So without further ado, here is our chat, interview, whatever you want to call it, with Randy Crane from the Stories of the Magic podcast. Well, awesome. All right. So we have with us here Randy Crane from the Stories of the Magic podcast. And so welcome, Randy. Thank you for coming on to our show.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Hey, absolutely. So, and now Roddy is crying. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just bring up my questions here. And we're, Megan will come back in at some point and jump in the conversation. But we're really just going to try and, capture your experience at the park, because you're married, you have a daughter, and that's kind of what Go Mouse Scouts is all about, is visiting the Disney parks with kids. And you're kind of a special case because you're an annual pass holder and you live very close to Disneyland. So this is going to kind of be a little bit different of a a trip report because you visit so often. So, what I would like you to do first off is just kind of give us a bird's eye view of your family and kind of how you guys came to love Disney.
Sure. So it's like you mentioned, myself, my wife, and my daughter. She is going to be 3 at the beginning of April. So right now she's 2 3/4. We tell people she's 2.5 unless she's in earshot, in which case she says, "I'm not a half. I'm 2."
I love that.
Okay, yes, ma'am. And my wife, she likes Disney. She is probably the least of the Disney lover of the 3 of us, but she does definitely like it. I started loving Disney, interestingly, shortly after I graduated from high school and was in college, and I started going regularly, became an annual pass holder then, and that was 1993. And since 1993, I've been an annual pass holder all but I think 2 years out of that time. And then my original plan after we had our daughter was, Disneyland's not that far from the hospital. We could swing by on the way home from the hospital, right?
Nice.
And then she was born, and I looked at her and I was like, I am never letting her out of the house because I've got to protect this little girl. I've got to protect my daughter. I've got to protect this child. So we actually did end up going when she was almost 6 months old, just because being born in April, I was originally thinking, okay, 3 months would be good, but that was July, and I was not taking her in July. We didn't even really want to go in July just because it's so hot and the crowds and everything. So we took her in late September for the first time. But before that, we've got Disney all over the house. She's got storybooks, and we've got music that we listen to and talk about the characters and the stories and things. So she knew it before we ever got there. And she just loved it, and we keep going back and back and back. And in fact, when she was little, like really little, and just starting to talk, I would sing to her the Mickey Mouse Club March a lot. And so she started referring to Mickey Mouse and his friends as Hi Hi because of that part in the march, "Forever let us hold our banner high, 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 high." She picked that up and started calling him Hi Hi.
Nice.
And so, of course, Disneyland, the place where they live, is Hi Hi Place.
Okay.
Even now, she knows it's Disneyland. She'll say Disneyland Park and DCA and all of that, but just in casual conversation, it's still Hi Hi Place in our family for that reason.
Wow, that's really cool. And I bet I can't mention anybody else that I know who calls the park Hi Hi.
No, probably not. In fact, we tried to make sure that she didn't have any passive screen time until she was 2 years old. So no videos or anything like that. When she turned 2, we're like, okay, we're going to start showing her things. The very first video we showed her was Steamboat Willie.
Nice.
Like, you can go wherever you want after that, but the first thing you're watching is Steamboat Willie.
There you go. Yep. So you said she's 3?
Almost 3. She'll be 3
almost. Okay, right. 2.5, but not a half.
Right.
Got it. Okay. So how many times would you say she's been? Roughly.
30 or 40 at least.
Okay. And I mean, you've been countless times as well since you've been an annual pass holder. Now, being so close to the parks and being able to visit often, even sometimes just for maybe an hour or whatever to hit 1 or 2 rides. How do you guys prepare for your trips?
We don't do a whole lot, but it really depends on the kind of trip it's going to be. If it is just for an hour or so, which if it's her and I, it's never just an hour or so because we enable each other. And we forget to eat and we forget to do diaper changes and we go from one thing to the next and get carried away and it's 4 hours and we weren't supposed to be there that long. But if it's the 3 of us, we tend to be a little bit more restrained. And so if it's just for an hour or 2, we basically just make sure that the diaper bag is stocked with the usual stuff. Diapers, wipes, snack cup, that sort of thing.
Okay, so it's pretty much just like a basic outing for you guys then, whenever you go.
Yeah. Now, if it's going to be longer, a lot of our trips are 4 hours. We've had a couple that are bumping up around 6 hours or so, which is about the max that she can handle for the most part right now. For those, that usually means we're going to be there at lunchtime. So we will usually pack a lunch. Not always, but most of the time we'll pack peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, fruit, chips, some kind of little dessert. And that gets the job done. So we bring that little extra. Otherwise, it's just a regular daily thing. Sometimes we'll buy a snack in the park. In fact, one time we were trying to find a decent snack, and we were all three hungry, and it was her dinner time. We ended up going to Flo's V8 Cafe, got the roast beef sandwich meal, and a side of mac and cheese. And the three of us split that. And it was... Actually, I don't think we even got the side of mac and cheese. We might have just gotten the roast beef sandwich meal, which came with mac and cheese and something else. And that was enough to be her dinner, provided a snack for the two of us, and it was $10 maybe for the three of us to eat. So, that was better than a kid's meal and a couple of churros. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I know the past couple of times that I've run into you in the park, it's just been you and your daughter. How often does your wife go with you guys?
I would say probably about half the time.
Okay.
And then there's a few times that the two of them will go, and then several times that the two of us will go.
All right. Okay. Do you guys ever plan any like really big days at the park or anything together, or is it really just kind of here and there?
We do a couple of, like I say, the one trips that are around 5 or 6 hours, and that's pretty much a big day for her. In fact, we just did one of those the first week of January because we wanted to get one more chance for the Christmas stuff.
Right.
And that meant riding the Storybook Land canal boats because we hadn't done that yet this season. Seeing the Christmas parade, seeing Princess Elena's musical grand arrival, and I think there was one other thing that we wanted to do too, as well as some non-Christmas stuff. And, so there was those things, and we managed to do all of that and met up with some friends in the process. So that was kind of a bigger day because we had these specific things we wanted to do. A lot of times we show up and it's just, hey, where do you want to go? What do you want to see? Because she's got her own ideas about what she wants to do. And we've been there so many times. We'll go wherever you want to. That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I know with us, whenever we go, lately we haven't been going very often. It's just been difficult for us to get all the way out there. But we were able to get there for the holidays and see the decorations and the Christmas parade, which is one of my favorite things. And, I'm pretty sure that, Megan really likes it as well. And definitely our kids love it. What is like a typical day for you guys? I mean, we have our like must do's that we do whenever we go. But I mean, like you said, sometimes you just, have your daughter, call the shots,
Right. Well, there are some things that even if we don't do them every trip, they're going to be pretty consistently showing up in our visits. So there's the Disney Junior Dance Party and the Little Mermaid, Ariel's Undersea Adventure, whatever the full name of that thing is. The Mermaid Ride is what we call it. That's going to show up almost every time. Even if we have to make a special trek across the Esplanade and into DCA to go, we're probably going to ride that because Ariel's usually her favorite character. We are, let's see, is there anything? We're probably going to meet at least one character. Most of the time it's going to be a princess and or Minnie Mouse. Mickey's good too, but she's really drawn to Minnie more.
Pretty partial to Minnie Mouse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, her going home outfit when she came home from the hospital was a Minnie Mouse dress. So we kind of pre-programmed her a little bit on that, I think.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. So I guess her favorite character of the Fab Five would be Minnie Mouse then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, something else that pretty consistently shows up in our visits is some kind of live performance. We were just there a couple nights ago, and we're walking down Main Street, even with it being under construction. So we're walking down Main Street. She hears the Disneyland band at the end of the street, looks up at me, points and goes, "It's the Disneyland band," and practically took off at a dead run to the end of the street to get to the band.
I love that.
She will take us to the band, to the Disneyland band, to the Pearly band, to the Dapper Dans. Whenever she hears live music, we have to stop what we're doing and go stand there for that performance.
See, that's kind of the opposite of what happens with us. Now, I absolutely love the live music and the live performances and stuff. The Dapper Dans, I mean, they're one of my favorites. I love the harmonies and stuff that they create, you know? But the rest of my family isn't so keen on like stopping and watching. You know, they're more like, let's get to the Jungle Cruise, or let's, you know what I mean? But there's just so much more than just the rides and things like that. I mean, you know, the live performances are attractions too, pretty much, you know?
Yeah, I agree. When we were there, that midweek trip to see the parade and stuff was going to be the last one for the Christmas season, but we ended up, my daughter and I, going back on Saturday because we wanted to see it again. And there was one thing we had missed. So we went back just for that, and ended up having a snack in front of the Little Mermaid ride. We'd finished our lunch, but we wanted to have a little bit of snack after we had ridden that. And we were sitting there when Mostly Kosher was going to do one of their shows. And had a great unexpected 15 minutes as we had a little bit of her, you know, running around dancing, having so much fun. In fact, that the fiddle player in Mostly Kosher came off the stage and went up and joined her and kind of ran around with her a little bit. Told me after the show, she looked like she was having so much fun dancing. I wanted to come do it too.
Oh man. You know, and those interactions and stuff, that is, I think that's the true magic of Disney, you know? I mean, you don't really get that anywhere else, which is awesome, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
One of my favorite memories at Disneyland is when we saw the Suburban Legends ska band that does Disneyland or Disney covers out in the Tomorrowland Terrace. And this is before they, you know, stopped doing that. And I'm not sure if they're doing it again or whatever, but I do know they've played at Downtown Disney pretty recently. But they were playing, I think it was their Under the Sea cover, and me and Kit went down and were just like dancing around. I had him on my shoulders and we were just like moving to the music, and it was one of the funnest times I've had there at the park, you know? Yeah,
absolutely.
So now you mentioned that you guys, like for your shorter trips, you'll bring, you know, like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and stuff like that. So like, how do you decide like if you're going to bring food or if you're going to, you know, eat at the park, or, is that for like special occasions, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah. If it's going to be a special occasion, then we'll plan to eat in the park. We'll plan ahead for that. Otherwise, if we're going to be there during a mealtime, we plan ahead and pack the lunch.
Okay. All right. Whatever, some of your favorite places to eat at?
Pretty much wherever we happen to find ourselves. We have eaten a couple of times on the benches outside the restrooms by the Fantasyland Theater, where Mickey and the Magical Map is. We have eaten on a bench alongside the path, or basically on the path that leads to and from, or between Fantasyland and Toontown. It gets kind of shaded there and a little bit of a breeze, so we've eaten there. We have eaten sitting on the curb waiting for a parade to come. That's a really convenient one when there's a 1 o'clock parade. And we'll just grab a spot about 12:15, 12:30 and have lunch right there. The time that I mentioned on that Saturday, we had lunch while we were in line for the Little Mermaid. It was 15 or 20 minute wait. So I just had her in my arms and I would reach into the lunch bag and pull out sandwich quarters or, you know, an apple slice or whatever and hand it to her. And we've eaten there in the World of Color viewing area. Sometimes we can grab a bench there, and that's kind of a nice place. So it's really wherever we happen to find ourselves and we're hungry. we just pull out the food and start eating.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I know. And that's one of the great things you can do to kind of maximize your time as well. I mean, grabbing a snack in line while you're waiting for, Peter Pan or something,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I said, my daughter and I tend to enable each other and forget to do little things like eat. So if we can do it while we're in line, so much the better.
So much the better. Yep. So what has been a highlight for you guys from a recent trip?
It's a tough question because there have been so many. There's one almost every trip. But I'll try to give you just a few of the highlights that kind of stand out. We had a trip not long ago where we were in Fantasyland and Merida was walking by and just completely stopped and came over because my daughter has red hair and came over and had this conversation about both being redheads and all of that. And then she continued on her way. A little bit later that same morning, we were going to ride the carousel, and we ended up riding with the Pearly Band on the carousel, and Mary Poppins and Bert and two of the penguins. And she got to ride next to Bert. And so they got to have a little conversation beforehand, and she thought the penguins dancing was hysterical. And the live music right there was part of it, so that was all really fun.
Right.
Anytime she gets to meet a princess, she is over the moon. My favorite, well, there's been a lot of favorites, but one of my favorites just happened a couple days ago. She was dressed as Cinderella this particular day because her favorite, she loves all the princesses. And so whoever costume she's wearing, that's her favorite princess at the moment. And so we're in the Royal Hall where they have usually three princesses meeting. And this one was Cinderella and Aurora and Ariel. No, actually, I take that back. Aurora was not there. Cinderella, Snow White, and Ariel. So we see Ariel and we see Snow White, and those were great. We round the corner to see Cinderella, and my little girl just calls out, "It's me!" and goes running to her.
Oh, man.
And then they had this whole conversation about how they were twins. A couple of times before we'd been there, and she was just so excited to see every single one and went up and had this conversation. She actually had Ariel first on her knees talking to her, and then Ariel literally doubles over on the floor laughing because she was having so much fun. And as we left the room, the cast member that was attending the exit door said, "Thank you for that. We just had such a good time."
Oh, man. Yep.
You're welcome. Probably the first one that really stands out, though, was a little over a year ago. So at the time, she was a little over a year and a half old, and she wasn't quite comfortable with the characters yet. She was kind of getting there, but not terribly comfortable. And we saw Mickey in Town Square. So he was kind of right near the flagpole. And she wanted to see him, but she was still hesitant. So the three of us get in line and go up. We wait, not a terribly long line, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. We get up and it's our turn, and she sees him, but then she sort of pulls back. And for the picture, she wants to be on the opposite side of my wife from Mickey. I'm like, okay, well, that's all right. So we take a couple of pictures. I step away, and Mickey doesn't let go of my wife's hand.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, well, this is strange. But he starts to take a step, and then the next family comes up. So he stands there still not letting go of my wife and daughter. And, kind of bends over and interacts with these other kids a little bit, gets the picture, still holding on to my family. They finish, and then he walks them over to the planter right there around the flagpole, bends down and plucks a flower from that planter and gives it to my daughter.
Wow.
Yeah, as he's doing it, I'm thinking, no, he can't be doing this. Like, you're not allowed to do that. And then I remember it's Mickey Mouse. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And so he gives her this flower, and she was over the moon. She gives him a kiss on the nose. She hugs him. We leave there, and the whole way down Main Street to go wherever it is we were going next, she was just like treasuring this flower. And when she had to give it up so she could, I think, get on a ride or something, she handed it to me and made sure that I was going to take good care of it because Mickey had given her this flower.
Wow. And that really just kind of broke the tension, I guess, like between her and face character, or not face characters, the head characters or whatever. That's wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And
it's
it's interesting that Mickey kind of had the foresight to do that. And, I mean, he's there all the time, and he's seeing kids all the time. And I don't know, that there is just magical.
Yeah, exactly. There's no other word for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It reminds me of when we went to Disney World a few years ago, and we went to visit with Anna and Elsa, and our son Kit, I think he was 3 at the time. We had him dressed as Kristoff. And both Anna and Elsa were like, their eyes were like hearts, basically, and they gave him like so much extra attention. And I think Anna actually kissed him on the cheek and like left like lipstick mark on his cheek. One of the cutest things, and we have pictures of that. So I'll have to post those pictures with this episode, but. I mean, it's moments like that. You can't plan those. You can't replicate those. It's spur of the moment things that the cast members and the characters can create,
Yeah, exactly. I could spend another 20 minutes telling you about her and characters on the Disney Wonder when we were on it in September, because that was not only single interactions, but 2 days later, she would see a character who would remember her and remember the conversation they had.
Yep. Man, there you have it. I mean, we could end the episode here, and that's just like, I mean, yeah, there's no words, no words. So we're talking about highlights from trips. What about moments that have maybe not have gone as well as they could have? Do you have any moments like that?
There's 2 that come to mind right away. We just talked a lot about how wonderful characters are. Mm-hmm. Probably a year ago, maybe more, I don't remember. It's been a while. I decided to take her to see Chewbacca. That was a terribly bad idea.
Oh, man.
She was so scared of him just because he's big.
Right. Super
we
tall.
talk about Star Wars, and she likes Chewbacca, but she kind of doesn't like him because he's big. And she'll tell me that every time. She's like, he's a good guy, but he's kind of scary because he's big. Mm-hmm. That's right. But she did not like meeting him at all. She cried. She was upset. She didn't want to be anywhere near him. That was a parenting fail. I felt really bad about that. And the other time, interestingly, both of the parenting fails where it didn't go as well as it maybe could have been when it was just me and her. Probably because my wife would talk me out of some of these things if she was there too.
Right.
We were there visiting a friend. We were just going to be there for a little bit of time. And usually our little girl is a very good-natured child. So if she's crying or throwing a fit of some kind, it's not because she's trying to get attention or something like that. There's something wrong. Mm-hmm. And we can pretty safely say that. Well, we had met up with our friend. We're on the railroad. We take the full trip around. That was fine. But then as we got off, and I think we were going to stay for something, and she started to get really upset and started to cry and just inconsolable to the point where I actually had to give her pacifier. And usually the rule is no pacifier at Disneyland because it's the happiest place on earth. You don't need anything to help you feel better besides being at Disneyland. In the car, different story. But when you're here, like if you're upset enough that you need your pacifier, you're upset enough that we should probably just go home.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think we were about halfway. Yeah, we were about halfway around on the train when she was starting to get that way. And I was like, well, I don't get to see this friend very often, so you go ahead and have your pacifier and we'll see what happens. We got off the train. She did not want to do anything else. I offered the mermaid ride. I told her the Disneyland band was coming out soon. All of her favorite things. She didn't want any of it. And I said, okay, there's just nothing else we can do. And I went ahead and took her home, but I was still kind of trying to cajole her a little bit into, well, do you want to see this character? Let's stop and do this. And she was not having any of it.
Yeah.
Got home, took her temperature. It was 101.
Oh, man.
She was sick for the next 3 days.
Oh, man.
And I was like, I should have known something was wrong because she was so upset, and she's not usually that way. But I was like, no, we're at Disneyland. It's a great place. And so I learned my lesson on that one. And if she's getting that upset, just stop, talk to her, find out what's going on, because there really is something seriously wrong. Otherwise, if she's having a bad day and she gets there, she's suddenly having a great day. If the reverse happens, I need to find out why.
Right. And I got to say, I would probably have been in those shoes too, Randy. And the funny thing is, I mean, hindsight is 20/20. I mean, looking back on things, it seems like, a face palm moment. It's like, I mean, why didn't I realize this, And it's always like that, always like that. So,
yep.
All right. So, I got to ask, I mean, we've heard, like what your daughter's, favorite moments are. What are some of your favorite things to do with your daughter there? I mean, obviously when she's calling the shots and stuff, you're going where she's going and stuff, but, personally for you, what do you enjoy
doing with her? Thankfully, our Disney personalities, and in fact, our personalities overall, are pretty similar. So most of the things that she likes to do, I like to do. And if there's something that I want to do that she hasn't tried and I can get her to do it once, then she really likes it. She's got a good, strong stomach like I do, so we'll do the teacups together. And I let her spin the wheel if she wants to, and she does. Like, she wants to make it go faster. And so I love doing that. And she's the only one I can ride it with. Like, my wife won't do it. So, getting to do that is really fun. I've been really looking forward to that, and now I get to.
Right.
And I love the live music. I'm maybe not as big a fan of going on the carousel as many times as she wants to, but there's always something interesting when we do it, whether it's the horse that we get or the Pearly Band being on it or something.
Yeah.
Really, all the stuff that she likes to do, I'm thrilled to do with her. I can't think of anything that she's wanted to do that I've really just been suffering through, or anything that I've wanted to do that she just refuses. If there's something that she's tall enough to do, and they'll let her do it, she'll usually do it and be happy that she did.
Okay, so really, it's just the togetherness.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I'm probably most looking forward to, because it's the thing she is most looking forward to, is riding Star Tours.
Yes.
We talk about it so many times. We have talked about riding it. We talk through the ride, and I let her pick what planet we're going to next. She's going to be so disappointed when she doesn't get to pick the planets. And she's convinced that she knows how tall she has to be, but every now and then she'll get up in the morning. She's like, and I'm tall enough to ride Star Tours now. No, sweetie, you're not. You were 37.5 inches yesterday. You're not 40 inches today. But she's just sure. Sometimes she'll go stand on the scale and she's like, I'm weighing myself. How much do you weigh? I weigh 40 inches tall. I can ride Star Tours. Oh, okay. We'll go stand outside the building so that we can look in, and I can show her C-3PO and R2 and the Star Speeder, because they won't let us in the building. But they will let us in the queue, which includes that overflow building. And so we actually waited in that one time just so that we could be in there and hear the music, and I could show her the planets and the Star Speeders and things.
Yeah.
She is that looking forward to it. Like, she's just beside herself, and I can't wait to be on it with her.
Right. Yep. That's so cool. And that was one of the things that we did with Kit also. That's one of his favorite rides there now is Star Tours, and it's just so fun to be able to go on that with him. And you actually went on that with us as well, which was really cool.
Yeah, it was.
So now the other thing is, our second to youngest, Teddy, his favorite ride is the Gadgets Go Coaster. And like when we're on it, You wouldn't necessarily think that to be true because he's like screaming and like, but then, whenever he gets off, he says he loved it. He said it was a lot of fun, but we took Kit on that ride and, he hated it. We got off and he said, I don't ever want to go on that ride again.
Meanwhile, with us, there was one time we rode that ride 5 times in one day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So your little one likes that one.
She does. Like, she rode in the middle a couple of times, and then she wanted to try the front, and then she wanted to try the back, and she liked the back the best because it was the fastest.
Yeah.
So then we rode in the back again.
Okay.
So, and this is her telling us this. Like, we're not going, hey, the back is fastest, want to do it again. We just said, where do you want to sit? And she said, the back, because it's the fastest, and I like that. Okay.
Randy, you've got a little thrill seeker on your hands.
Yep.
And the other funny thing is that, it's funny that Kit doesn't enjoy that ride because one of the things he's doing, not related to Disney or visiting the parks, but we have him in a ninja gymnastics class, and he's doing all of that stuff and really enjoying it. And I don't know. I mean, that seems like it would kind of sort of be related a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe it's the height or the sharp
maybe
turn.
It's the speed. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows? If he wants to go on it again at some point later, we'll take him. But at this point, it's a no-go for him. So now one of the things that I've learned about you guys from, listening to your show and your podcasts and stuff like that, is that you guys have, you have your autograph books for the characters, but you also have some for cast members.
Right.
And so I wanted to ask you if, about any cast members specifically that have stood out to you recently.
Let's see. They've almost all been really good. Most of the time they haven't really stood out, though, interestingly. Which maybe that's just because I'm noticing more of the interactions that she's having, and she's not really interacting a whole lot with cast members. She's just interacting with characters. But we actually did have one that was particularly entertaining a couple nights ago, where we were riding the mermaid ride with a couple of friends. And when we got off, one of our friends was standing with his back to the direction that the moving sidewalk was going. And a cast member said to him, you need to be careful because you're coming up on the edge. And he said, oh, I thought I would just stay here like this. And the cast member said, well, you need to be careful or you'll flounder.
Nice.
We got a big kick out of that. It was like, that was not a practiced part of a spiel like the puns usually are. That one was good.
Yeah. I mean, you see the cast members in the different lands, and it's just fun to hear some of the things they say. And, you have to wonder if, sometimes they're trying to come up with like clever, witty, topical things, like responses to guest questions or comments or whatever. And, I'm sure they have many of these stored in the back of their mind to use or whatever, but it's really cool whenever you can say them and make it seem like it's off the cuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
we're actually in line to meet Captain America one time, not too long ago. And we were waiting for him to come out. Spider-Man had just finished and Cap was going to be coming out in a few minutes. And the cast member who was attending the line says, now, before Captain America comes out, we have some ground rules. And I don't remember what all of them were, but I remember one of them was like, don't mention ice. Don't talk about ice cream. Don't show him ice cubes in your cup. Don't even mention cold. He's very sensitive about that kind of thing.
Nice. Yep. Details.
Yep.
Now, a trip to Disneyland isn't complete until you get home. Meaning you have to take into account, like leaving the park, getting to your car, and, you know, what it's going to be like when you get home. So how do you prepare for leaving the park and, you know, the trip home, basically?
We're sad. We put it off as long as we can.
Well, you do enable each other.
Exactly. We're getting better a little bit.
You can stop anytime you want.
Right. Yeah, it's not that we can't. It's that
you just don't want to.
Right. But I could if I wanted to. Yeah.
Exactly.
We are getting better about saying, okay, after this ride or this show or whatever, we have to go home, but we'll be back, right? I always tell her, you know, we'll be coming back, right? Yes. Okay, so we're going to leave after this. And sometimes she's actually getting to the point where we'll have finished something like we just finished watching Princess Elena's musical, Grand Arrival, because she suddenly and inexplicably started loving Princess Elena of Avalor like 2 months ago, out of nowhere. Okay, sure. So we got to see that. And afterwards, I said, well, you know, it's getting a little bit later in the afternoon than it probably should be, but we've got some more time if you want. So do you think we should ride the mermaid ride or go see the Disney Junior Dance Party or go home? And she said, I think we should go home. I'm getting a little tired. Okay, home we go. So she's starting to recognize when it's time to go, and she doesn't really fight it or anything. She very rarely has, but even now, sometimes she picks up the cue that, you know, I think I need to go home now. I think it's time for us to go home. And so then we just go back out to the bus. We always park in the Toy Story parking lot. So we go back out there and catch the bus, and she loves bus. We actually saw the Christmas parade for the first time in 2016, just because I had taken her to Disneyland to ride the bus because she loved buses. And when we got off at the drop-off point at the parks, we heard the Christmas parade music. She wanted to know what it was, and I told her, and then she said, I want to see it. Looked at my watch, I'm like, it starts in an hour. You want to go in? Yeah, okay. We went in and saw the Christmas parade. So we love that because of the buses to begin with, but she's less fascinated by them. It's just still an easier place for us, and she knows it well. So she knows how to recognize where we parked and what our stop is to get off the bus and all of that, and getting back to the car. And then it's just a simple load into the car and drive home. We're, 15, 20 minutes at most from when we're in the car, we're back home.
Yeah. I love that. You kind of create like these teachable moments for her. You said that she's able to help you find where you guys parked and stuff like that.
Yeah. Because she knows her numbers really well, and she knows some of her letters, and she recognizes the characters. She knows almost as many characters as I do. She's getting to the point where she might know more about Star Wars than I do. I'm not sure, including plot lines.
Proud dad moment right there.
Yep. I don't even have to worry about what order to show her the movies in because she knows the story. So we're golden. Got her a Rey costume for Halloween or for Christmas rather, because she loves that. But yeah, so we're doing that, and I'm even starting just a very little bit because I heard this idea. I don't think I heard it on your show, but I can't remember who I heard talking about it. I thought it was a great idea where their kids are a little bit older than mine. So I'm starting a really rudimentary version of this, but they will let their kids navigate to wherever they're going next in the park.
Oh, right. I remember hearing about that too. And I can't remember where.
Yeah, because I thought that was a great idea. It's like,
it's a wonderful idea.
Hey, we're going to It's a Small World. You lead the way. And I was like, well, what if I don't know where to go? Well, then you should probably ask a cast member, and they will help you. So they start learning to recognize that and learning to navigate around. It doesn't matter how you get us there, as long as we start here and we end up where we're going. You get us there however you want.
Huh. That's going to be bugging me now, trying to figure out where I heard that, or I wonder if it was on one of your interviews, with,
maybe.
Oh man, what was his name? The Dreamfinder. His name escapes me right now.
Oh, Ron Schneider?
Yeah.
It wasn't him Schneider? Because I just heard it in the last few months, and I interviewed him as one of my first interviews.
Okay.
So, but we have taken his advice to heart when it comes to interacting with the characters. I think about him a lot with that.
Right. Absolutely. So
lots of those teachable moments, as well as other things like, recognizing things. Even teaching a little bit of science and, it's like kind of the scientific method and do a basic version of it. And, my favorite was when she dropped a rock or something, I think, into some body of water. And like, you see those ripples? That's called fluid dynamics, I said to a 1.5-year-old.
Oh, man.
But she's learning these words, and she knows what they mean because we put them in a context of a place she loves.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and hopefully you'll be able to instill within her a love for learning,
mm-hmm.
and so that she'll always, be learning.
Yeah, because I'm always asking her.
Life.
Yeah, and I'm always asking her when we're there. She'll see something, and I'll ask her, "Do you want to know how that works?" And usually she says no, but sometimes she'll say yes, and I'll explain to her how something works, and if I can, show her the mechanics or the technique involved, so that she's learning how these things are happening.
Yeah.
So, and it's still not spoiling the magic, which is something I think that makes it great.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, so we're actually at the end of the episode here, and I just wanted to kind of bring you into a quick lightning round. I'm going to ask you just a few questions, and hopefully just answer them like off the top of your head, and we'll get to know a little bit more about you through these questions. So here it goes. Question number 1, Dole Whip or Mickey Bar?
Oh, between those two, probably a Dole Whip. Not my favorite treat at the park, but between those two, I'll take a Dole Whip.
Okay, what is your favorite treat?
The garlic cheddar bagel twist with a boys and apple freeze from Maurice's Treats in Fantasy Fair.
Nice. I'll have to snag one of those.
It's really good.
All right. Who is your favorite Disney dragon?
Oh, favorite Disney dragon. Oh, so many good choices, but I've got to say Figment.
There you have it. That's mine. Okay. What is your favorite park tip? Like the one you always go back to?
I think it would have to be... I was going to go with one of the trite ones, like don't overschedule yourself or something. But no, I've got to give a parade viewing tip.
Okay.
There's a couple of really good spots that you can come up to fairly last minute. This one takes a little bit more time, maybe up to a half an hour before the parade, but it's worth a little bit of extra investment of time. It's the spot right outside the Alice in Wonderland restrooms across from the Matterhorn.
Uh-huh.
And the reason that's a good spot, there's actually 2 reasons. 3 if you count the fact that there's a restroom right there. So there's that. It's often in shade because you're close enough to the buildings that by the time you get to parade time, the sun is low enough that you've got shade. But the most important part of it is that the parade route narrows a little bit right there. And so usually when you're watching the parade, there's people sitting on both sides of the street. In that spot, there's nobody across the street from you, which means all of the character attention happens on your side of the street right in front of you.
Wow. That makes a ton of sense. And that's actually where we saw the Christmas parade when we were there a few weeks ago. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got the bathrooms right there. We were in the shade, and I remember seeing people across the street, but then the cast members shooing them away as the parade approached. Yep. Wow.
That's the only spot along the route that's like that. So
see, now I'm wondering to myself if I should maybe cut this part out of the episode so that, you know, it remains a secret. But you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. It's too good. It's valuable. And yeah. So there you go, Mouse Scouts. A great parade tip for you guys. Next question is, what is your favorite bit of Disney inspiration? Something like a quote or value.
Well, the signature I use in all of my emails is the excerpt from one of Walt's interviews, where he talked about that we always keep moving forward, finding new things and exploring new avenues and things like that. And so I put keep moving forward in all of my emails, because no matter what, if you can at least have some forward momentum, even if you get knocked back, keep moving forward, keep moving in the direction that you're trying to get to. And if what you're trying to get to changes, change directions, but then keep moving forward that way.
Right. Absolutely. Because, if you're not moving forward, whatever direction you're facing, you're not going to move anywhere at all. I mean, you have to have forward motion in order to get somewhere, whatever direction you're facing. So makes complete sense. Finally, I like to call this part Plug City. Please tell us where we can find you online. Tell us about what you're doing in the Disney space. Anything else you'd love to mention?
Okay. Thank you very much for that opportunity.
Of course.
And let's see. So I have my podcast, Stories of the Magic, which is at storiesofthemagic.com. And it is on what I'm calling an incomplete hiatus right now, because I don't have any interviews lined up or scheduled or recorded or anything like that. And just because I have other things I need to do with my time for the most part. But there's a couple of interviews that I still would really like. And one of them I've been actively working on I'm coming up on 2 years now, I think, of trying to get this one done. And I think it might happen in February. So if one of these happens, whenever they do, then there will be a new episode that comes out.
Nice.
But otherwise, it's going to just kind of sit there for a while, but the old ones are still going to be available. I think I've got 136 episodes out there so that people can go back and listen to. And then I've got my 2 books that I've written. There's Once Upon Your Time, which is a time management book using 7 different elements of Disneyland to illustrate real-world time management principles. And then somewhat similar to that is Faith in the Magic Kingdom, which does the same thing, but it uses all of the parts that I could possibly think of Disneyland to illustrate principles of faith, particularly Christian worldview. I did have Lee Cockrell, retired executive vice president of Walt Disney World, endorsed the book, and he said that whatever your faith, that Faith in the Magic Kingdom would inspire you and encourage you. So you don't have to be a Christian to read it, but frankly, you're going to get the most out of it if you are.
Yeah.
And then I also offer custom touring plans and itinerary planning for Disneyland. I offer custom tours, Faith in the Magic Kingdom, or just like a Secrets and Stories kind of unofficial tour. And you can just email, I believe it's dltours@storiesofthemagic.com. Or if you want, you can just email podcast@storiesofthemagic.com if you're interested in either of those. The books are available on Amazon. I actually just created a website for helping me find a job, but it does also have links to all of these things. And so that might be the easiest place to get a single spot for most, if not all, of the links. And that is Randy-work.thecrane.family. And that's crane like the bird or the heavy equipment. So if you're at Disneyland and you see Mr. Crane on the giant crane where they're building Star Wars Land, that's the same spelling.
Nice. And you do own that crane, right? Which means you know exactly what's going on for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My hand fell off from signing all the various NDAs.
And we can talk about that after I turn off the recorder. So.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Well, good times. So while Randy is kind of on a indefinite hiatus from putting out podcast episodes right now, there are a ton of other wonderful interviews that he's done in the past. So definitely go check those out. Some of the ones that come to mind that I've really enjoyed. One of them, was Tom Amin. He's created he's a pianist. He does Disney covers. You also recently interviewed Margaret Carey, right?
I did. I've actually interviewed her twice.
Oh, twice. Okay, so there you go. There's 2 interviews with her, and who was the lady you recently interviewed?
Terry Harden.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually got a story from her on there. It's a 3-part episode for that interview, and I got a story really close to the beginning of it that she said that she's never shared before, or maybe one time. Other than that, it's just not a story that she's ever shared, about what her very first assignment was. at Walt Disney Imagineering in the sculpture studio.
And it's a good one. So you have to go and listen to that first episode with her. It's a great story. So yeah. All right. Well, Randy Crane, thank you so much for visiting us on our show. I'm sad that Megan had to duck out pretty early in the episode, but we'll all meet at Disneyland again at some point here soon. So
yeah, absolutely.
This podcast is brought to you by the Go Mouse Scouts Guide to Visiting Disneyland with Young Kids. Many people are afraid to take their small children and babies to Disneyland, thinking it's too difficult and won't be enjoyable. This ebook will give new and young parents the confidence to do so, arming them with all of the important information they'll need in order to ensure that they have a great time with their kids at the Disneyland Resort. For more information, visit gomousescouts.com/Disneyland book or look for it in the Amazon Kindle store. All right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So what did we do yesterday?
Go on a hike.
Yeah. Can you talk about that?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, why did we go on a hike?
Because I was with the Boy Scouts.
Mm-hmm. And what happened when we got there?
I played Sonic with another kid.
Oh, yeah, because you were running around before we actually did the hike, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get something cool?
Yeah.
What'd you get?
A little bag attached to a belt.
Uh-huh. It's like a hip pack or a hip pouch or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah? And what's in it?
There's a first aid kit.
Mm-hmm.
And a flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
And a whistle.
Ah, okay.
And I used to have sunscreen.
Yeah. You used up the sunscreen, huh?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about some of the things that came in it. What's the first aid kit for?
In case you get an owie.
Mm-hmm. Do you have an owie?
No.
You don't have any owies right now?
I do, but they're almost healed.
Ah, okay. Yeah. What are your owies? They're not from the hike or from scouting. Where did you get those from?
These?
Mm-hmm.
I was doing monkey bars.
And what are they? Are they blisters?
Yeah.
Yeah?
And I have a fourth owie.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a cut.
Oh, a little cut?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's not on any of my hands like the others.
Okay.
It's on my ankle.
Yeah, so what else came in your pouch? In your pouch. What else came in it?
Sunscreen. But
Okay.
I used it all up.
Right. And what else?
Flashlight.
And what's the flashlight for?
In case there's weeds all around surrounding you and that are higher than you and you're lost and they don't see you, so you can just like take the flashlight out and shine it through the plants.
Well, a flashlight is usually for the dark, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you also got a whistle.
Yeah.
What's the whistle for?
In case you're lost and in case if you don't want to have to lose your voice,
Mhm.
right?
Sure. Okay.
So we use the whistle instead of the voice because you would lose your voice.
So if you're lost, what does that mean?
Use the whistle.
Well, if you're lost, that means somebody's probably going to be looking for you, right?
Yeah.
And if they can't see you,
And they
then
say
you need
you're
to use the whistle so that they can hear you, right?
Yeah.
And then
If
they'll
you-
be calling your name probably, huh?
Yeah.
So you use the whistle, and then you can, when you hear them calling your name, you can yell back at them, huh? Mm-hmm. Okay. So tell us about the hike, whenever we actually started going on the hike.
Well, I want to tell you that we didn't actually see any dangerous animals like snakes.
That's good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And one of my and some of my friends thought they saw fossils, but they were actually white rocks.
They're just rocks?
Yeah.
Yeah, what did you like about the hike?
I liked getting to be walking.
You liked walking?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you see there at the hike?
Well, I saw a path.
Okay. What kind of plants did you see?
Cactuses.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. Tell me about cactuses or cacti.
You know about the plants that there's plants that grow on cactuses. They're plants that you can actually eat.
Well, you'd have to
like
process
fruit.
them a little bit.
Yeah.
And you don't want to touch them.
Because my dad touched one and he got spikes in his finger.
Yeah, I got spikes in my finger. Yep. Okay. So tell me more about the hike.
Well, also at the end, one of my friends touched it. And they got it too.
Yeah? Which friend?
I forgot his name, but he was playing Sonic with me.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Do you want to go on more hikes?
Yeah.
Yeah, was it pretty fun?
Yeah, soon I'm going to go on a hike with my mom. And you again, Daddy.
We'll probably go to the same place.
Yep, because they really want to see it. Yeah. And guess what? We even hiked to the very top.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Did you want to say anything else about hiking or Boy Scouts or anything?
No.
No? All right. Well, I think we're good, huh?
Yep.
Say bye-bye, Mouse Scouts.
Bye-bye, Mouse Scouts.
Hey Mouse Scouts, are you thinking about taking a Disney vacation? Let us help you out. We have teamed up with Gold Gal Getaways and they can help you with all of your planning details, and since they're paid by Disney, they can do it all at no additional cost to you. Their amazing agents will work with you directly to make sure that you're getting the best rates possible on lodging and admission, and will even keep their eyes peeled for other discounts or bonuses to add to your trip as they come up. There's just so much to consider when planning a vacation to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or even a Disney cruise, so let Gold Gal Getaways take care of it all for you. That way you can know for sure that nothing will get missed and you'll have a wonderful, magical trip. Plus, if you book a trip to Disneyland, you're entitled to a free digital copy of our guide to visiting Disneyland with young kids. For a free, no-obligation quote, visit gomousescouts.com/quote. And have a great time on your trip. And that wraps up this episode of Go Mouse Scouts. Thank you everybody for listening. As usual, you can find us online at gomousescouts.com. Check out our guide to visiting Disneyland with young kids, which you can find at our website as well, and on Amazon in the Kindle library. We're also going to be putting that out in print as well, so definitely keep your eyes open for that. I've designed a couple of t-shirts that you can find at our website. If you click on the link at the top, there's a really fun monorail Portal video game mashup, which is kind of fun. And then a Keep Calm shirt having to do with Disney Railroad. So check that out. And finally, you can pick up our free book. It's a little ebook on 10 ways that families can save on a trip to Disneyland. So check that out, gomousescouts.com/freebie, And we would love to hear from you guys. Find us in our Facebook group and, reach out and say hi. Thank you so much. Take care.
Testing 98. Papa, what is